Dr. Jazz.
Records I heard of you was Exo Eso, and
Ah,
I was mesmerized, man. I love the solo guitar and the solo guitar heritage. With, let's say, virtuoso Joe Pass set the bar really high. Then you have
I
that
love Pass, man. Love him.
Derek Bailey, Joe Morris, and of course
I dig Derek. We played some together in New York.
with Derek.
Yeah.
Dude, when was
Oh,
that? Seriously,
that would have been in the 80s.
how was that like? He was loud, right?
That was fun. That was fun, yeah. I appreciate him more as time goes on.
Me too. Yeah,
You know, do you know the record with Dave Holland on ECM?
sure. I mean,
Man, he is smoking on that, isn't he? Bailey is. You don't mess with Bailey.
man, I've heard, I've spoken to some people who played with him, and they just said, really interesting experiences. Like I did the other day with Frode Gerstad. He's a amazing Norwegian saxophone player, and
Mhm.
he, he said the first time he played with Derek, it was loud. So,
Oh, really?
yeah, but the improv was so cool that this
Sure.
such a
I've
natural
heard,
thing.
yeah, I've heard that he played loud, but when we played, it was all acoustic,
Oh wow, fantastic!
and
Wow,
that
fantastic.
was amazing. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, I mean,
And I really dug Derek.
yeah,
He was
and
such a friendly guy, and
really,
he had a great sense of humor. He loved to laugh, and and he loved to travel too, which is something you have to do if you're going to really make a go of this music.
yeah.
You have to travel. So I have some big news, I think, for you that you may not know.
Oh, please,
A, mo-
sure.
a month ago, well, a month and a half now, we moved from New York to Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Okay.
So I'm now living in the
Oh,
Southwest in a high desert environment. They
wow,
call it high desert. It's between 7,000 and 9,000 feet.
wow. How come you decided to do that? Like after what, 40,
Well,
50 years of
yeah, 48 years
wow.
of being in both in the city in Greenwich Village and then in the Hudson Valley area, just
Yeah.
north of the city. And the main reason being that our daughter moves, or our daughter has lived here for 5 years.
Okay.
And ever since she moved out of the same town that we lived in, we've been wanting to get back to living in the same place
Yeah.
so that we could see more of each other.
Sure.
So since she wasn't going to move back, it was up to us. And it was time too. You have to embrace change.
Yeah.
And that's a cliche, but it's true. And so we decided to change. And the wonderful thing is that there are a lot of opportunities for me here.
Mm.
And I'm enjoying it very much.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I mean, you can still, of course, compose and everything, which is,
Oh, yeah.
a
I
beautiful
can
thing.
even, yeah. And there are guys here who can play
Yeah,
too. So,
that's
and I'm
important.
meeting them and making some very good relationships now.
Oh, fantastic. That's good.
So,
Good to hear.
yeah, it's
Good.
really nice too. It's the one thing that I was not prepared for is that it's extremely dry
Yeah, I can
here,
imagine.
very low humidity, 15%.
Wow.
And that means, I play a diaquisto. I was someone who Jimmy wanted me to endorse his instruments.
Mm.
And and the deal was he sold me an Excel, his carved top,
Yeah.
arch top, which was a famous instrument. He sold me that at a very, very low price with the understanding that I would play nothing but that in public.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you have one of those, you don't want to play anything else anyway. So it hasn't been a problem for me to honor our relationship.
Yeah, they're beautiful
But
instruments. Yeah.
oh, it's
Yeah.
just it's extraordinary. It's like a Stradivarius is to
Yeah.
a violin, but not as old, obviously. But that's meant that I've had to keep my humidity very high here in my studio, which is where we are now. It's a studio slash office.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I do all my practicing in here and writing and everything I do goes on right in this space. And as you can see, let me move out of the way. See, there's a lot of boxes. You
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
see, but there's at least 10 boxes in here. We're still unpacking and putting things away, and it's
Sure.
a challenge. It's a challenge, but you have to be patient.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the big news here. Of course, I'll be going back to New York to
Yeah.
play.
Sure. I can imagine. Yeah.
I don't want to let that go. I'd be crazy to let that go.
Sure.
And so many of my wonderful friends are there, and
Yeah.
that's what I miss the most.
Can imagine. Or yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And the String Trio of New York now we're in our 44th year.
Wow.
So I'm going to keep that happening. Man, I'm going for 50. That's going to be 2028.
Yeah, come on, why not? It's an incredible ensemble. You know, it's like the amount of music you guys made. It's just like
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to party like it's 2028. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No,
So that's
I wanted to ask you this. You know, you said you moved out of New York. How was it when you moved to New York, like early 70s?
early 70s, right? Fall of, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, like, you know, I want to ask you later about the solo guitar playing. You know, I'm mesmerized by that record and how you approached it. But I just wanted to ask you now, like, about New York, since we're on the subject. How was like for you entering the New York scene, like, let's say early mid 70s? I know you're on that For Players Only album by Leroy Jenkins, which is incredible, by the way. And
Right. Oh, thank you. Yeah, yeah. Well,
but you know, your entrance on this creative scene, how did that begin for you, like when coming to New York?
well, that started when I was still living in Cleveland, Ohio, and when I had gone to New York as a child. Are you on there?
Yeah, yeah.
You've frozen.
I'm go.
Your video is frozen.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Can you hear me?
I hear you. Yeah, yeah. There was something.
Now you're back.
Okay.
It's still choppy though. It's not perfect on your end.
Let's see. Yeah, it's evening here. Maybe something. Sometimes the connection is. But I hear you okay, and I see you okay, and it's recording, so it's
Okay.
super
Maybe there's a lot of people using the
cool.
bandwidth.
Yeah.
That could be it.
Yeah.
So when I was 12 years old, my family went to New York to go to the World's Fair.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and that was amazing. Seeing La Pietà by Michelangelo was unforgettable. But the most important thing happened was when my Uncle Ray, one of my beloved uncles, took me and my brother and his sons, with whom we were very close, to Midtown Manhattan, like probably around Times Square. And Samo, when I saw what was going on there, I was so turned on.
Sure. Yep.
The pace, everything was like super fast. The scale is gigantic. You've been to New York, probably,
Yeah, I've been many times. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well,
but I know what you're saying. I remember my first time when I came. I was just like, what, you know?
I found it to be tremendously exciting.
Yeah.
And I turned to my uncle and said, Uncle Ray, when I get older, I'm going to move here and be a musician.
Wow.
And then it happened. So thoughts are powerful things. That's, I think, why people say, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
Because it's going to happen, So anyway, I was so turned on. I knew I was going to live there. So in Cleveland, though, when I first heard Charlie Parker, that's what launched me into that kind of music.
Wow.
And then hearing Bird led to Bud, Monk,
Sure.
Miles, and I started following the chronology up, and then it got to Ornette eventually, and that really turned me on. And early Cecil Taylor.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Man.
Oh.
Unit structures and that stuff, right? Yeah.
Well, even earlier, like shifting down with Train. Oh man.
Oh yeah. Oh shit. Yeah, that album. Yeah.
The chords that he's playing, the voicings, are like the next step after Monk, and it's just incredible. So anyway, that led to like Braxton and Muhal and those early Delmark records. They came out in the mid '60s.
Yeah.
And because I was already primed, listening to Cecil and Ornette and Late Train, when I heard them, I heard something that I could really relate to. And I knew that those people, if not lived in New York City, they often went there. They frequently went and they played there. Like the Creative Construction Company. Remember that group with Steve McCall and Leo Wadada.
Yeah.
Leroy Braxton, Yeah. So they were doing their thing, and so I wanted to be a part of that. And I moved to New York in the fall of 73.
Oh wow, already.
So the so-called loft jazz scene was just starting.
Wow, yeah.
And, well, it had been underway for a year or two, say. Ornette had two lofts on Prince Street in Soho, and between West Broadway and I think it's Spring is the next one over. And that was an amazing thing. Anyway, that movement really took off, and I became a part of it by answering an ad that Leroy had put into the Village Voice.
Oh wow!
Yeah, saying that he was teaching, he was accepting students, and please call his number. So I called him up, and he said, "Sure, come over." And so lessons, he consisted of him showing me his music and what he was writing, and then we would play his music.
Oh, that's fantastic! Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't care that he was a violinist. I had become accustomed to transferring lots of different kind of music to the guitar.
Yeah.
Like say you're doing like Crepuscule with Nelly, right?
Yeah.
Or Monk's Mood, and you want to play those exact voicings that Monk played, you really have to know something about the fingerboard.
Yeah.
So I was used to that. And then Leroy, because he saw that I could read his parts, that's a key thing with them, especially Muhal and Braxton. If you can't read their parts, forget it. They don't have much use for you.
Yeah, exactly.
But then also, if you can improvise, that's all the better. So Leroy, in his graciousness and his generosity, took me under his wing, you could say, and started to introduce me to people. Like the first time I met Braxton, he had come bearing the double LP with Derek Bailey, and he gave me a copy of that.
Oh man, wow.
And yeah, I had never heard of Bailey, until that.
Wow.
And so that was an ear opener. But then I started to get work with them, and you mentioned For Players Only.
Yeah.
There were so many greats on that
Yeah.
Braxton, of course,
Incredible.
Dewey Redman, Dave Holland, Cerrone, who's an unsung
Yeah.
giant, a giant on
Yeah.
the instrument. Oh man. And so many others. Bobo Shaw and Joe Bowie. That led to my joining the Human Arts Ensemble. You know, the guys who had come from St. Louis,
Mhm.
including Lester Bowie.
Bowie, yeah.
He did a lot of gigs with us in that group.
Really?
We
Oh, wow.
didn't
Man.
record that. But check out the front line. Lester Bowie on trumpet, George Lewis on trombone.
Ooh.
That was heavy. That was heavy, man. So, you know, just one thing led to another, and you know, your web grows.
Yeah.
You know, your web of friends and colleagues, and eventually I met John Lindbergh up at the Creative Music Studio in Woodstock, which was
Okay. Yeah.
Calipariusha, not Calipariusha, but Carl Berger's
Yeah.
wonderful institution, and they're keeping it going even to this day. Anyway, John and he had been studying with Roscoe Mitchell,
Yeah.
and so he had these charts of Roscoe's, like Nonea, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
Line Fine, Lion 7, you know, amazing stuff, you know, that he was working on. So John and I just started playing for hours every day.
Like a duo or?
Duo, strictly duo.
Oh man,
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. You want to hear more about this?
Oh please, yeah. I mean, you know, I love the string trio. It's like, if you know, how did Billy then come in the equation?
Yeah, good question. That's what this is leading up to. I had an apartment in the village, in Greenwich Village. Leroy had gotten me the apartment above his. We were stacked.
That's so cool.
Oh, it was all. Hey, Jenkins did so much for me. I owe him everything. And we did a concert up in Woodstock, and I think I wrote all the music. And in a way, that was kind of like the beginning of the string trio. Just guitar and violin, and that kind of thing wasn't being done back then.
Oh sure, yeah.
And so anyway, then John moved down to the city, got an apartment on the Upper West Side, and you know, we just took up where we had left off in Woodstock and started playing all day long.
Man.
Just playing, like hitting hard too. I mean, we were like serious. We were playing as much as we could on our instruments. So anyway, I guess one day Billy had heard about us somehow. We never found out how he heard about John and I, but we were doing this on the Lower East Side. It was on it was 3rd Street between Avenues B and C, which is also where the so-called theater was, which Charles Bobo Shaw, had taken over. He was like, you know, the I don't know what you'd call it, the guardian, for lack of anything else, of that space. And there was always something going on there. Some kind of rehearsal or concerts. Anyway, maybe Bang heard about us through Bobo, or anyway, it doesn't matter. What matters is that one day he picks up his violin and says, "Hey, I'm going to go see what these guys are doing."
Oh.
So we hear a knock on the door. We answer the door. Billy comes in with his violin and says, "Hey, can I play with you guys?" And of course we said, "Sure," you know. So we start playing, and in about 5 minutes, Samo, we all stop and look at each other like, "Man, listen to that sound."
That's it, yeah.
We had come upon something that was just, we couldn't arrange it ourselves. That, I believe there are no accidents. There are no coincidences. So that was the start. And that was in 77 in the summer. But we didn't do our first concert until February of 1978. And that was at that theater that I was talking about. Something that this is, I've never discussed this publicly, but we did another concert later in that summer of 77. John and Pablo Calagero, that's probably a name you don't know.
Him, no.
Barry player. Okay, they're busking on the street. And guess where they choose their location to be, where they're going to play for contributions? In front of Carnegie Hall. That's the part that cracks me up. They go right to the top.
Yeah.
So anyway, this guy walks by and says, "Hey, I'm having a party tonight. Would you guys come and play for the party?" And they say, "Sure." And so he gives them his address, and they run back down to 3rd Street and say, "Hey guys, we got a gig." Probably our first gig, but not our first public gig. So we take the 3rd Avenue bus uptown with all our instruments and everything, go to this guy's house, and the guy who owns or renting the apartment, he's like a wacko. He's like just totally, out of his mind and funny. So we sit down, or they sit down, we start playing super high energy, and we hit for 45 minutes, like, highest level, okay? We stop, and that guy says, "That's just what I was looking for."
Oh my God.
Yeah. So a couple weeks later, my wife is given a TV set. We didn't have a TV. So we turn it on, and it's Saturday Night Live. And I say, "That's the guy whose place we played at." It was Bill Murray.
No, seriously?
Yes.
Oh my God.
He had just joined Saturday Night Live. I didn't know. Nobody knew who he was back then. But he was that same crazy dude, who you see in the movies. So that was our unofficial first gig.
Oh man.
But then things caught fire fast for us. We did some very important gigs in the city. In fact, Ornette came to one of our first gigs.
Oh really? Oh,
which was really great. Yeah, that was something. Yeah, and we played on the New Jazz at the Public Theater series, which all the main people who were from Chicago and from St. Louis who had migrated to New York, they were all playing on that series, and so they included us on there. And,
that's an exposure.
Yeah. So pretty soon we're going to Europe in 79.
Really?
We make our first.
That's how the Black Saint connection happened, kind of, or.
That's right. Okay. We that was in 79. Our first record, String.
Yeah.
And then we did a lot of records for them, and it was wonderful being with them. We would play, we'd tour Europe, and then take an all-night train down to Milano, and we'd have the music ready because we'd been performing it, for a couple weeks, say. So that's how that happened. And
how was this experience in Europe like? For you guys, let's say early 80s. I mean, back then it was like Eastern Bloc, and every country had its own currency and all this stuff,
Yeah. You might think this is odd, but I liked that.
Oh, wow.
I liked it. And I especially liked West Berlin. When they joined, West Berlin lost something. Because it was like an outpost of freedom in the middle of East Germany. You had to travel through East Germany to get, or at least, East German airspace.
Yeah, sure.
I shouldn't say freedom, but it was more free than East Germany.
Yeah. Oh, definitely, sure.
Yeah. And it was just full of energy. It's the closest thing to New York that I ever experienced in terms of power and energy. It was just pumping out of West Berlin. I loved it. So, we went to Europe frequently back in those days, up until about the mid 90s. When we started, or early 90s, when we started touring heavily in America.
Yeah.
Which was unusual for this kind of group, playing,
Yeah, definitely.
Unusual music, So anyway, it's been just such a joy and a delight for me to live my life like this. When I was 6, I knew I was going to be a musician. 6 years old, because it brought me so much joy.
Yeah.
I was playing a little electric organ that my dad had bought for the family for Christmas, and I started playing it right away, and man, I just loved it. Didn't ever want to do anything else.
What about the guitar? You mentioned Bert, before, and obviously Paul, and all the beboppers, but
yeah,
who was the guitar first jazz guy who kind of impressed you?
Well, Bill D'Arango.
Oh, okay.
You're familiar with him.
Yeah. Sure, yeah.
He was like the guitar player on 52nd Street, playing with all the greats.
Wow, interesting.
You know the recording he did with Dizzy?
No.
Oh, you got to hear it, man. Oh,
I have to check
Milt
it out. Okay.
Jackson is on it. Milt Baggs is on it, who's one of the greatest to ever play an instrument.
Sure.
Don Bias.
Really? Oh man, I have to find out.
Oh,
okay, find this out. Okay.
Serious.
Wow.
I think it might be the first recording of Night in Tunisia.
Really? Okay, I have to check it out. Okay, don't know this.
First recording of Anthropology. And Bill. So the reason how I got with him was I was a senior in high school, and I had been playing a Gretsch Tennessean, and I decided I wanted to look into some other guitars, so I went in there to look at a Gibson 335, a red one, and I decided to get it. So Bill he's hearing me play while I'm trying out.
Really? Oh man.
Yeah. And so he comes over and says, "Hey, I need a guitar teacher here. Do you want to teach here?" And of course I said, "Yeah, great." So I start teaching. He's got, in some office buildings, there's a row of little rooms. Yeah. He had that. So he had at least 5 rooms or 6 that could be used for lessons. So the first break I had, he showed me the changes to Cherokee and had me play them while he soloed over it. Yeah. So that's the first jazz tune I ever learned.
Oh, wow. Oh, man.
Yeah, so, you go into C sharp minor 7 is the first chord in the bridge, 2-5-1 into B, 2-5-1 into A, 2-5-1 into G.
Yeah, the basics, yeah. But heavy. Yeah.
And somehow I had learned enough. You know what it was? I had studied classical guitar. My parents, maybe to try to scare me or to put me off, but say, "All right, you can have a guitar, but you're going to take classical lessons." And I said, "Great, bring them on, I'm ready." A funny thing was that I just wanted to play music. I didn't care what kind it was.
Yeah.
Just, like Christmas carols, religious songs. I liked it all. And I had a great classical guitar teacher. She was fantastic. She was a violinist in the Cleveland Orchestra, which is, that's one of the great orchestras. That's when George Zell was there, just before Boulez.
Oh wow, really? Oh,
who I love. I
yeah, yeah,
love Peter
sure.
Boulez. So anyway, I had learned enough to be able to play the changes to Cherokee. So Bill was very happy about that, and I was very into the blues also. And a thought entered my
Mm.
mind one day, which was that the blues is so deep and profound. There must be more to it than what I'm getting, which was Delta blues, which I love to this day.
Yeah, sure.
Chicago
Me
blues,
too. Yeah.
Albert King, BB, Freddie King. I mean, that music is powerful,
Yeah.
and I love it. So I said to Bill, "Hey, what else is what's happening with these blues? What else is going on?" He told me to go listen to Lester Young,
Oh, wow. Oh, beautiful.
the bassy stuff in the late 30s.
Yeah.
Man, so after about I learned some of his solos, I'd become a pretty good transposer or transcriber, I
Fiber.
mean.
Yeah, yeah.
And so after about 3 weeks of that, of an immersion into Prez, I heard Charlie Parker, and that was it. After that, I became a hermit. It was just me and my record player, and that was it for hours every day.
Yeah.
And I did that for a few years.
Like transcribing and
Yeah. Well, I didn't write them down. I just
yeah,
learned
just
them.
learn the licks. Yeah.
And the heads.
Yeah.
I rarely learned a solo because I wanted to do my own soloing. Somehow I had learned enough, probably from reading about the music, that,
Mhm.
like Charlie Parker said, music is about your thoughts, your feelings, and if you don't live it, it won't come out of your horn.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yep.
the idea is it's about your personal thoughts and feelings, and so the compositions, the heads,
Yeah, already the hats are, yeah, yeah, sure.
it's all there.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that music to
Mm.
me it's just a phenomenon. All this music, and someday I'd like to see it, like say in 300 years, a musicologist
Oh man, yeah.
discovers bebop, and his head explodes with the magnitude and the incredible genius
Yeah.
and that's there. It's just it's a something that I marvel at.
Mm. Interesting. Yeah, yeah. But it's true.
You know,
It's
and I
influenced
still
so
play
much.
it.
Oh,
I still
really?
play it. Oh yeah, to warm up.
Oh,
That's
wow.
that's
Yeah.
that's how I warm up and get ready to do a gig. I've folded a lot of Coltrane into that now, but I feel that that's the it's like Bach kind of.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's the best foundation you can have on your instrument.
Especially for guitarists to play horn lines. I mean, that's the best for me.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love that.
yeah, exactly. So you know Han Benek, right?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. He's incredible. Everybody knows that who knows him. He does that. He plays bebop
Oh, yeah. I
till
mean, he played
till
with
about
everyone, with Dolphy in the, I don't know when, 60s, you know?
yeah, right.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah.
But he's continued that to this very day. He plays that music till about noon, like lunchtime, and then, then he's sufficiently warmed up to to let his imagination
Yeah.
go wherever it will go. And I like him a lot. He's
Did you guys
phenomenal.
ever play together with Han?
No,
No.
I
Okay.
don't think we've ever even met.
Oh, okay.
But I know him through his music,
Yeah, yeah.
and I appreciate that he uses that music to help himself.
Yeah.
To get his chops up to the point
Yeah.
where he can do what he wants to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
So-
I mean, it's good. Yeah. But James, I wanted to ask you, like, before you mentioned when you started with John, you know, you immediately started writing your own tunes.
That
And,
was through Leroy's influence.
yeah. How did
He's
that come? How did the writing process with you begin? You know, you already, the early Black Saint stuff has so many compositions by you and by Billy and by John also, but like, how did the writing, what triggered the compositional aspect of your, you know, musical career, let's say? When did that happen?
Well, I had been doing some of it when I was in high school, but nothing like what it turned into, you know, but still trying to express your ideas and your feelings through a pen or a pencil and paper. It's a whole different thing, but in a sense, it's the same thing as playing your instrument.
Yeah.
You're trying to express an idea, you know, whether it's on paper or whether it's on your instrument. It's all about expression. And I got into, I always liked Schoenberg. I liked Bartók, and that continued. And then I've gotten into so many of those great composers, and I just like the way they organize music.
Yeah.
You know, and early Boulez and early Stockhausen, even later, like Répond. You know Répond?
No.
By Boulez?
No, no,
It's for orchestra. I think it's 1984.
Oh, okay. No.
Oh, it's just a masterpiece. And that's Response in French.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
And Donnerstag aus Licht.
No.
That's a late Stockhausen orchestra work. That's a tremendous piece. I mean, those guys are geniuses.
Yeah.
They really are. They really are. And something about, I could hear that music and it excited me. So if that happens, then I want to chase it. I want to go after it and try to find out more about it, to learn about it. So I still to this day feel that the most fertile place for music to be created, original music, fresh, new music, is at the intersection of very modern creative music, such as Muhal, Braxton, Roscoe, and those people like Boulez, Stockhausen, Ligeti, Penderecki, Lutoslawski.
Lutoslawski, I love him. I love him. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. So that's where I'm trying to situate myself. That's not a very good, but
no, but I know what you mean. Yeah, I know what you mean.
I planted my feet there, you know. And have you heard Transformations
by Lutoslawski?
No. It's one of my pieces.
Oh, your album also is, right?
Right.
Yeah.
For Between the Lines.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that is, and I've broadened my understanding and my vocabulary since then. That was in the early 2000s. I wrote that in 2001. But the thing about that was I knew that group, Klangforum Wien, that they had some of the best players in Europe. All of them were very, very high level on their instruments, and that they could play whatever I wrote. So I was unencumbered with, gee, are they going to be able to play this or not? I didn't have to worry about that. And I'm just so happy with the way that came out. The performance that they gave that piece was so good. I'm thrilled that it happened.
Yeah.
You know, because to get an orchestra piece recorded, that's
rare.
Really, really difficult. In fact, now I was looking into trying to get the piece that I wrote for my daughter and myself as soloists, the double concerto for clarinet and guitar.
Oh, wow.
I was trying to get a professional recording of it, and I failed. It's the only piece that I've not been able to document on a very high level.
Mm.
And I found out then that many Hollywood scores are being recorded in like Romania, Czech
Really?
Republic,
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
yeah,
Really?
Bulgaria,
Yeah, sure. It's cheaper.
because it's much cheaper. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, getting an orchestra piece recorded in America is
Yeah, it's an
it's
art.
tough.
Yeah.
It's tough unless you're like John Adams or one of the the leading young composers here. So, but I love orchestra music. Oh, and I have something to share with you that I feel is very important, and I think I'm so happy that this happened, even though it didn't completely happen. But check this out. Do you know of there's a scholarly paper written about the compositional practices of Charlie Parker?
No.
Know about it?
No.
Okay. A friend gave me that as a gift. And it's good. I thought he could have gone further into Bird's incredible rhythmic figures.
Yeah.
But so it's fine. But anyway, near the end of the book are some late interviews with Parker.
Oh, wow.
And now check this out. I think that this makes me so happy. He is talking about abandoning his quintet and going away from that into a thing that became called the third stream, which you know about, right? With
Sure.
John Lewis, Gunther Schuller.
Sure. Yeah.
It was a wonderful thing they did. They really got put down by the jazz establishment,
Yeah.
which is still happening. But anyway, so Charlie Parker is talking about doing that, writing
Imagine
music,
that, yeah.
and he listed his top influences. Okay, I'm going to run them down to you. Number 1, Stravinsky. That's no surprise. Everyone knows.
Yeah.
He loved Stravinsky. Number 2, and this is a little more surprising, but not surprising because he's so incredible, Prokofiev.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Number 3, Hindemith.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of that, yeah.
That makes sense because
yeah.
he loved that calmer music. You know that piece.
I've read that, yeah. I've read also
Yeah.
interviews with Charlie, yeah. With that,
He played like licks from that at times. Number 4, Ravel. Number 5, Debussy.
Wow. The
Yeah,
French
man.
guys, really.
I mean,
Wow.
so Bird, he picked his influences with care and with real understanding. And then after he ran those down, he said, "Oh, but my favorite most of all is Bartok."
Wow, man.
Yeah, man.
I would not see that, actually.
And then he said, "And I also like Wagner." So, oh man. And he was hanging out with, who wrote Ionization? Varese, Edgar Varese.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Varese evidently loved to hear Charlie Parker play. And there would have been interaction there. He would have needed to study orchestration.
Yeah.
But he had the ideas, the compositional ideas were awesome. I mean, they were as high level as it gets.
Just imagine if he lived like 30 years longer.
Can you imagine?
Would have been,
man.
Yeah.
And so you could say that's a big part of what Braxton did.
Yeah.
What Muhal did. Muhal loved that music. Braxton, he loves Stockhausen. Stockhausen is his main cat. He likes Xenakis a lot too, and Boulez. But that's what they ended up doing.
Yeah.
Merging the creative music coming from America with that coming from Europe.
Yeah.
And you know what Muhal has said is that regardless of his note choices, and unusual musical phrases and construction, he still wanted it to be phrased like Charlie Parker.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, don't you think that's great that Bird wanted to do that?
Oh, I mean, it's just like some of these some of these people, if they lift,
Like,
know,
yeah.
like Hendrix, let's say Hendrix were of guitarists, like,
yeah,
or whoever of these guys, it's a Coltrane, what he would have gone, it's,
oh man,
you know
what it pays, it's beneficial to remember that when Train crossed over, it wasn't the end of what he was doing.
Yeah.
He was going somewhere else. He he was restless in that way, creatively, always going somewhere
that's
else.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's not the end. That's how I like to think of it. But I love Late Train.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Home and all that stuff. And
it's like, so great.
Yeah.
I've been listening to Transition lately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The lines he plays. I mean, yeah,
Expression also is.
Yeah.
They're all phenomenal. They're so great. How about Dolphy if he had stuck around?
Oh man, I just released a solo Eric Dolphy record guitar. I did all of his 2080 compositions. I'll send you a link on solo guitar. And
okay. Did you do Miss Anne?
Everything, all 28 of them. It's just like the lines already, the heads. I tried to take the bass line of Head and Beard and like keep it up and playing the chords in between and the melody. It's just like, man, if you check out the lead sheets, then it's just like, man, you were a great composer, Dolphy, like really underrated. Also, like,
oh yeah. He was a big influence on the AACM guys.
Yeah, sure.
Very big. Also the Bag guys, Black Artist Group out of St. Louis, huge influence.
Yeah. Such a player. Yeah.
How about Clifford Brown?
Yeah, exactly. we could just go on. Yeah, I mean, like, it's quite sad.
It is in a sense, but what they did do was so monumental that it's more than enough for, I mean, we're still talking about them
and still playing and
listening to them, playing their music. I play Joy Spring like nearly every day,
That's so beautiful. Yeah.
And people will be doing that for hundreds of years too.
Yeah.
So I saw Hendrix live.
Really? Oh man.
It was in '67.
Oh,
on his first tour of America with the Experience.
Wow.
I was 15, and it was so great. He was tremendous. Really great. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, I've heard stories of
unforgettable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I teach, sometimes I've been teaching for the last, 15, 20 years, and Hendrix pops up, of course. And it's just like when you regarding rock blues guitar, Hendrix he was so good, really.
Oh
like,
yeah.
Such a player.
If I can, Samo, I want to share another thing with you, a discovery through written music or through the written word. And this comes from The Guardian, the great English paper.
Yep.
Hendrix's apartment there has been made into it's on the National Registry of Historic Places.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure they call it that exactly, but that's what it is. So we could go to his apartment and go in and look around, and so that was the thing that the article was about. But then they went on to print a late interview again, and the interviewer asked him what he's planning on doing, what's coming up in his future, And this, again, this made me feel really good too, and I was very happy to read it. He wanted to go back to school for
Really?
music. Yeah,
Oh, wow, man.
yeah, yeah. He wanted to arm himself, so to speak,
With some
with
knowledge, yeah,
with
harmonic
the
and
power
yeah,
of being able to read and write. And
yeah,
he again, he had all the ideas. He didn't need new ideas. But I heard that Miles had given
yeah.
him a chart. He was running with Miles and John McLaughlin,
I
you
heard
know,
that.
and
Yeah, yeah, I
doing
heard that.
right, right, right. But evidently Miles gave him a chart on one piece of paper and he couldn't do anything with it. And he probably was embarrassed.
Sure.
I would be. And so he wanted to take care of that.
Yeah,
Isn't that wonderful?
that's incredible. I mean, yeah,
Now, you're a teacher, right?
yeah.
I'm a teacher. I love to teach.
Oh, me too.
Can
Yeah.
you imagine you're teaching at a music school and here comes Jimi Hendrix and he's going to be your student, okay? You have to teach him like he's a beginner.
Yeah, that's
Okay, there, that note, first fret, second string, that's a C. And you write it here in between.
but I have cases like this, you know, sometimes quite famous pop rock guitarists come, you know, to my school,
Okay.
and they're like, well, you know, I would really love to learn about, you know, scales and arpeggios and voicings, and
Yeah.
then we actually start there, drawing up a fretboard, naming all the notes, and
Of
it's like
course.
an F is there and G is there.
You got to start at the beginning.
They don't know that, and it's, you know, they've done albums and played solos and done concerts in front of 10,000 people, and
Right.
then they're there like, well, where is the G now? Like,
And you know, I think
I
a
love
big
it.
reason for
I
that,
love
a big reason is they've relied on tabs,
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
know, and chord diagrams, you know, with the like I heard Billy Eckstein talking about guitar players.
mhm,
He had probably experienced this.
sure,
And like the guitar player, like Eckstein is saying, okay, play this chord, play that chord, and the guitar player says, well, what's the shape? What's the Let me see a diagram. You know?
exactly, yeah.
Oh,
That's
guitar.
brilliant.
You know, it's been my objective to make my students approach the guitar as if it were any other instrument.
Yeah,
You know, like trumpet, say, violin, piano, anything, where you have to learn music as well as the instrument.
yeah,
And music as it applies to any other instrument, right? I mean, that's the way it is. But guitar players somehow they get, and drummers are the only other ones who don't always go through that.
yeah. Especially guitar
So,
with the tabs, like you said. Yeah, that's quite a
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
But if you don't have the rhythm, it's meaningless. So what they learn is tunes that they already know.
yeah,
If it's something that they never heard, they're totally lost. I mean,
yeah,
it's meaningless then.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
James, speaking of guitar, you know, I wanted to ask you already in the beginning about Exo Eso and
Mhm.
your playing to approach to solo guitar playing. I mean, you kind of explained it now already by saying that you studied classical also, which kind of then explains many things what you do when you play solo guitar. But
Uh-huh.
still, how do you approach, you know, playing solo? Like, let's say that album for me, compositionally, you know, it's beautiful. The waning moments, that I think third or second tune, or
Oh yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know, it's
I
like,
like
how did you consider doing that record? I mean, when did that pop up, like playing solo? And
well, that's another thing that comes from Leroy and
mm,
the AACM people was the importance of solo concerts,
oh really?
especially the wind players. You know, that was a revolutionary thing to just, you know, take a saxophone and play a whole concert.
Yeah, and Braxton
You
and
know,
Wadada and all these guys. Yeah,
right,
yeah,
exactly. That was revolutionary. So Leroy exposed me to that way of thinking. And then I did my first solo concert in 1980 at the Peace Church, which was the Washington Square Church, where that Creative Construction Company record had been recorded live. So I was already thinking about solo concerts. I had never considered it. This is the beauty of opening your mind to what other people are doing, what great musicians are doing, and what they have planned in the future, and just the way their expression is going, and the places that it takes them. Yeah. So that was my first outing, shall we say, in 1980. But then I continued to do solo concerts, mostly in America.
Yeah.
If not all in America. But a big thing with me was that I have to make my living doing this music. I don't want to have to do anything else. So that's another project that you can offer, say, up to a presenter.
Promoter, yeah.
Use that word, or promoter, somebody who's putting on concerts. You could say, okay, you had the string trio. Now I want to come back solo, or quartet or whatever. And so I came to like doing solo concerts, and I've always been a practicer. So in practicing, you probably me will come across little figures or things that you like. It's a a nice little idea, and you want to be able to do it again. You like it that much, so that means you have to write that down. Nowadays, you can just record it.
Yeah,
like I'm using, and then if I like it that much, to have recorded it on voice memos.
Yeah. Yeah.
See how many I got there?
Yeah.
579 I'm up to.
Oh, man.
It's kind of overwhelming me at this point. But I'll write that down, and then, I'll have it.
So it's like your sketchbook, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the main challenge with me, unless it's planned that I just continue, like, with, so to speak, stream of consciousness.
Yeah.
It's a writing style.
Yeah. Like James Joyce and all these guys, yeah.
Yeah.
Virginia Woolf, kind of, yeah.
Right.
Oh.
So, hello?
The mister is...
that looks like one of our cats.
Yeah, he's a Russian blue, and...
Yeah, right. Karat, you know Karat?
No.
That's the name of a Russian blue in Polynesia.
Oh, wow.
Korat.
Okay, I'll check it out.
And does he have a tiny little white, a few hairs of white in the middle of his chest?
No. He's like gray, silver grayish, kind of.
Okay, yeah. Ours was that same color.
That's beautiful.
And he was one of those regal cats. Is he like that? Like, he's royalty, and
yeah. I mean, he's
a monarch.
He's the king, man. We just pay the bills. He owns the bill.
I love that. I love that attitude.
Yeah, it's like, I love that too. I mean,
cats are amazing.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah,
other than stream of consciousness, what I've tried to do, and Waning Moments is like that. Is to just take a few ideas and then try to stay with them, and work them, manipulate them, and so it's a compositional thing.
Yeah.
But it done in an improvised way. The old thing, composition is improvisation upon reflection.
Yeah, there are many variations. Yeah,
and improvisation is spontaneous
in its
composition.
composition. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But it makes sense. It's true, actually. It's absolutely true.
Right. Yeah. So the thing I like most, one of the things I like the most about playing solo is that you can change directions like that, and you don't have to coordinate with. Even though a great bass player and drummer or whoever, they'll pick up on it right away, but you don't have to concern yourself with that. You can just make instant changes of direction, and I like that.
How did you avoid fear in playing solo? Did you ever encounter that, or a block in improv? No. Okay.
No. George Lewis, we used to hang out a lot, George and I, and he said one of the things about playing solo, you have to have a lot of material.
Yeah.
You don't want to run out of stuff, of ideas.
Yeah.
I mean, you're basically naked up there.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah.
And if you run, that's like a nightmare. You could have a nightmare about that. Like you're playing, in front of a lot of people, and you run out of ideas. You're cooked.
Exactly.
Forget it. So, I thank. What was his name? From FMP Records. He's the one who decided to do the record with me. Yeah. And I thank him for that. That's
a beautiful.
Probably going out on a limb a little bit. And,
but it's such a beautiful one. I think especially in the realm of solo jazz guitar or modern guitar, it's for me really up there. It's
man, thanks very much for
really
that.
Beautiful, so creative. But
right on. Thank you. I've expanded my vocabulary.
Oh, really?
Since
I mean, did you continue working on a solo still now? Are you considering doing a solo guitar album, let's say, or would you consider that? Or
absolutely.
Oh,
sure.
Yeah,
sure. I'm ready to do that.
Mm.
But I've been using Penderecki has been a help in this regard.
Oh, really?
Like using more of the string length than just the ordinary.
Yeah.
In other words, doing an extended technique, playing up closer to the bridge.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Playing between the tailpiece and the bridge. That little length of string, it's about that long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's I have to dig into that also. Yeah.
Yeah, check it out. That's
just thinking. Yeah. Oh man, I haven't even thought about that, man. It's I'm an idiot, man.
Well, I want to hear your Dolphy thing.
I'll send you the link. Yeah. I'll send you the link.
Please do.
Please. I really enjoyed it. So, but yeah, James, just one more, not to take more of your time, but
no, don't worry about it.
I wanted to ask you about your experience with Henry Threadgill. He's one of my favorite composers ever, and I tried to write out lead sheets as much as I could. But how was that like for you working with him, and how did that happen?
I'm not sure how that happened, but we had known each other for years. Thanks to Leroy again, who basically introduced me to everyone in the AACM, and told them that I could play. So anyway, Henry wanted a guitar quartet. So I probably, along with Brandon Ross, we were the only two who had a half-size guitar that's tuned an octave higher. In New York, we probably had the only two instruments like that. And so that took care of his high register, of Henry's need for a high register guitar.
Yeah.
And then Ed Cherry was on the regular guitar, and Jerome Harris played acoustic bass guitar. So we had the whole register,
Yeah.
which is, by the way, what the string trio has too.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
The contrabass all the way up to violin and everything in between. So that's how I came to work with Henry, was through having that instrument.
Yeah.
And then I could read his charts. Again, that's a key thing with those guys, is that you
Like you said,
have to be able to read accurately. So I'll tell you a story. I got called in to substitute with Muhal's big band.
Wow.
I think this was like 83. So he had written this one little section, and it was about a half a page long, probably 12 measures or so, for vibes and guitar in unison. And he gave it to me at the rehearsal. I couldn't play it. I said, Muhal, I can't play this. I got to take this home and work it out, you know. So I did, and I learned it. And then when when it came time to play that part at the next rehearsal, he made Warren Smith, he was the vibes player, he made us play that about 10 times just to make sure that we really had it and that we weren't faking it, you know.
Man,
but that's all part of the, you know, it's natural, it's normal, and
sure.
You shouldn't be afraid of that. You have to be able to throw down, you know, and do it when the time comes.
Yeah.
If you can't do that, then you're unreliable.
Sure. Definitely.
You're not consistent.
Yeah.
Then.
Yeah. What was Braxton the same? Like, you know, that creative orchestra in '78, like,
Oh,
how was
that was phenomenal. That was incredible. That was well, I basically wrote my own part for that.
Oh, wow.
I would take things from like the trumpets, and then, you know, other instruments, just taking what I thought worked and blended, and that's what I played. He didn't have a guitar part for that. But boy, am I thankful that he asked me to be in that group. We took Europe by storm.
Yeah.
I mean, we really did. That was a phenomenal event. My only regret is that he didn't play on that. He conducted. And it needed a conductor. There's no doubt about that. But if he could have, you know, that sound of his is so beautiful and special.
Yeah.
You know, I missed it.
Yeah, it's a wonderful record. You know, I've spoken to so many guys who are on that record, and everyone was just like, man, this opened the doors for every one of us, you know, like for so many guys. Like,
oh, great, man. Well, that was, I kind of liken that to the Billy Eckstine band of 1944, or Earl Hines' big band in 43, that so many of the giants were in that band.
Yeah. I
mean, that trumpet section, Dizzy, Miles, Fats Navarro. That's
you got to be kidding.
That's tremendous. So we had Wadada, Kenny Wheeler, Mike Mossman, who later went on to establish a name for himself. We may have had one other guy, but just Leo and Kenny. That's
Kenny, man. My favorite ever.
Yeah. So every section was like that. And for a lot of us, it was our first trip to Europe.
Yeah, sure.
For me, certainly. Yeah. So my exposure to Europe was at the highest level.
Yeah.
We started with 10 days of rehearsal at the VDR studios in Cologne. I mean, that's like high level.
Yeah.
Oh man, it was just so great. I loved that tour. I loved it. You ought to hear the Paris performance, though.
Oh, really?
That's the one to check
out on a CD, or?
No, it's in the Braxton archives.
Ah, shit. Okay.
If you dig around in the Tricentric Foundation information, they have it there.
Okay.
It's the
Try to search a little.
Creative Music Orchestra in Paris.
Okay.
Braxton.
Wow.
See, what you hear, it's great. I love it, the CD. But that's our very first performance.
Yeah, after the rehearsal, sure, Cologne.
You know, the first performance is generally the weakest. You know, you learn a tremendous amount about the music in that first gig. But another thing they have there, and I want to bring this up with you. I just thought of it. In 1992, I was asked to do a recording with whomever I wanted for a organization there called Music in Florence, Italy, called Musicus Concentus. Mm-hmm. I think they're still working. And there was a record label. It was supposed to be the first recording for a new label. And something like Traditions and Transitions was to be the name of the first release by a new label, an Italian label. So I asked Braxton to come over, and we did a duo concert.
Really?
Wow. Yeah. He wrote half the music, and I wrote the other half.
Oh, man.
And what he wrote for us was composition 167 and 168. And we didn't get to 168. 167 was enough. So then after the gig, we went into the studio and recorded it.
Oh, man.
We mixed it, edited it, and it was a wonderful finished product. And then they never released it.
But
and it's,
you know where it is nowadays? Or?
Yeah, it's in or near Florence.
Oh, man,
Italy.
You should somehow get the, yeah.
I've tried.
Oh, man.
I've tried, man.
Oh, that's a shame.
It's a real shame, yeah. And it came out beautifully. I mean, it's really a wonderful recording. And whenever Braxton and I see each other, we talk about it. You know, like what are you going to do? I mean,
sure.
You can't do anything. But I think the Tricentric Foundation might have the live tape of the gig.
Oh man, I have to check this out.
Yeah, check it out. Oh, you'll dig it. You'll dig it.
Beautiful.
Yeah. But that was a big disappointment to me that never came out. Sure. We never thought that they would just flake off like that, you know. And anyway, maybe that'll come out someday.
Yeah, sure. Come on, you never know, you know.
We'll probably be off the planet by then, but you know, at least we did it. That was
the key thing. Yeah. Hopefully, yeah. That's beautiful.
Maybe we'll send you over there, man. You go over there to Florence.
Yeah, I'll hunt it down. Send me the details.
Right.
Jazz police, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Please.
People do know about it, though. It's been mentioned in publications, and you know, so people know about it. But I just want them to hear it.
Yeah, sure.
You
I mean, yeah.
We went through all that trouble of traveling over there, rehearsing, writing, then doing the gig, then going in the studio, and it, you know, so all this stuff is happening all of a sudden.
Yeah, that's heavy. Nothing. Yeah, that's heavy. I know.
All right, so that's my gripe. I got that over with. My complaining is over.
But cool. You know, I won't bother you anymore. So it's like, thanks for sharing some.
Bother me. You're not bothering me.
Okay. You know, it's just like
don't even mention it, man.
So many questions. So you know, we haven't even come to your quartet recordings, by the way, with the Gerry and you know those guys, and Marty, and I love that stuff.
Hey, man, I devoted the whole afternoon to you.
Okay, I know. It's okay.
You know what I like? I like the fact that, you know, I don't once I've done a recording, I don't listen to it for a long time because
me neither.
I've kind of gotten tired of it because I've heard it so much. I don't want to hear it anymore. But when I do happen to hear something, it sounds good to me.
That's a good thing.
Fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's standing the test of time. But you know the Spectral Domains record
No,
on
no,
on Endra?
no.
That's
one of them.
You don't? Oh,
No.
it's a septet. And one of the musicians who I have the utmost respect for is on it. Mark Feldman.
Oh man, yeah.
Feldman is a
Ooh.
killer,
Yeah.
a stone killer on that
Yeah.
on that violin, man.
All these guys. Yeah. Yeah.
So I had him, Marty Ehrlich, Chris Speed, Formanek, Hemingway, Kevin Norton, a septet.
Man, I have to check it out. Okay.
Oh man, check it. It's on Endra.
I mean, I love Luminous Cycles. You know, that's an awesome one. Like those records, like, and Whale Fishing, those are like, even if you put them on now, they sound really modern.
Yeah, right.
Sometimes with music can be really, you know, you put something on from the 80s and it's like, oh yes, you know, you cannot listen to it because it's so
dated.
Yeah, and those records are still now. You put it on and like, man, you know, it's like it's been recorded, I don't know, for Pi Recordings 2 years ago or whatever. And it's really fresh.
Thank you so much, man. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Well, I was so thankful to be able to do those records.
Yeah.
To write that music and then to get that quality. Those are the highest quality cats, man, you know. And something that I heard, my daughter put this on, and after the orchestra music on Transformations, I did 4 little quartets. And Tony Coe was playing tenor and clarinet on them.
Really?
Oh, I love them. Tony is so good. He's so sensitive and he's emotional, man. I mean, he gets you. He'll grab you, you know. And I love listening to those. I didn't like them at first because I thought it detracted from the orchestral music.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Or it was a distraction almost. But now,
that's wonderful.
These guys nailed it. Franz Koglmann sounds.
Oh
great.
Man, incredible composer. Yeah.
Oh man, but he's playing his ass off too on that. I think he was on flugelhorn for most of that.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And he played on Transformations also. And then Peter Herbert is
amazing,
the bassist on those quartets. He sounds phenomenal. But Tony is the one who just has, his expression is so deep and expansive.
Yeah, really underrated player. I mean,
he's so underrated, man. Yeah.
You
know, if he hadn't been afraid to fly, and he had come here to America, he would have wiped people out here.
Yeah.
When they heard him, people would have gone wild over him. The inside people know, you know, they know how great he is.
So many players like that. I mean, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know, we do this music because we love it. But you know, it's also, if we wanted fame, we would do something else. You know, I guess. You know.
What are you going to do? I mean, it's out of your control.
Yeah, exactly. So
only thing you can do is play and write your best. Do the best you're capable, and then let the chips fall where they may, as they say. Exactly. You know.
Yeah.
And don't worry about it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Hey, so do you do any monk tunes on the guitar?
No, I mean I've been obsessed now with. I started with Ornette like really early, and I transcribed like all Ornette solos. You know that box set, the 6 CDs. I transcribed
solos.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I have like a stack of this handwritten, like everything.
Wow. Is that the Atlantic stuff you're talking about?
Yeah.
That's it.
The lines. But Monk, no, Monk I'm afraid to do monk kind of when it's so intricate and heavy. I think it's like
Right, it is, but it's very rewarding to
yeah,
you.
yeah,
You'll be happy that, like, he has a chord that's I call it a major 14th.
mm.
It's got a minor 7th and then the major 7th on top of that.
Oh yeah, that's
So he's got both 7ths, you know,
that's yeah,
and a
that's,
flat 9 and the 13th.
okay.
And
Wow.
so it's just, it's amazing.
Yeah, he was.
That's
he
on
was incredible.
Crepuscule with Nelly. That voice.
I'll try.
Very, very modern.
Yeah,
So one of the things about Monk is that some of the stuff is so almost folk-like,
yeah, yeah,
And then on the other hand, he'll turn around and drop the most advanced
exactly.
idea that you've ever heard, but he makes them work together.
Yeah,
That takes a real genius to pull that off.
yeah. He was incredible. I mean,
And it's not contrived at all. It's very natural.
yeah.
So I'm going back into a Monk period now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful.
I was deep into that years ago. I mean, like 20, 30 years ago. And then I just went into other things. But now I feel Monk calling.
That's a nice one. That's a good title, Monk calling.
Yeah. I saw him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, at the Village Vanguard. And it was just before he went into seclusion and didn't play anymore.
Mm.
And it was something. It was something to see that and hear it. You could tell he wasn't in 100%
Sure.
condition, but it was still, phenomenal. And Dave Holland was on bass.
No, really?
I kid you not. But Dave really knows Monk's music. I mean, he knows it. Yeah.
Didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, it was tremendous.
Wow, interesting.
Now, check this out. I'm thinking about what are the things that, why is New York so different now? It's changed so much, but it's always undergoing change.
Sure.
And one of the biggest problems is the real estate market. That determines a lot of what happens in New York. But let's say in the 60s and the 70s, maybe into the 80s too. Can you imagine a city where Miles Davis, Thelonious Monk, Max Roach, and a lot of other people are in a little piece of land like that? What that does to the vibration, that's really got to raise it tremendously.
Yeah.
Isn't that phenomenal when you think about like that kind of human energy and power in one little place? It's only 14 miles long,
Yeah. It's
a couple
bizarre.
miles wide.
It's bizarre. Yeah.
So when they've gone on to another place now, you take that away from the island, and there's like a big hole. Like when Sam Rivers left. By the way, one of my all-time favorites.
Oh, mine also. Yeah, incredible player, incredible composer, everything. Yeah.
He is just one of the all-time giants. There's no doubt.
Did you guys ever work together? Or?
Yeah, we played one concert together. Was one of the high points of my career.
What was it, like a trio or a bigger group? Or
No, Thurman Barker, who's one of my dearest, closest friends, and we've been together since that Braxton tour in '78. We've been very close, and he's given me a lot of work with his group too. In fact, the new record that he just did that I'm on is really, really great.
Really? Oh man, you
I
have
don't
to send me Thurman's email. I would love to do a talk
Oh,
with
okay.
him. I mean, I
Okay.
love
You
his
should
stuff.
have him on your show.
Yeah, yeah, I would love to. I
That'd
would
be
love to.
he was Muhal's and the AACM's first, not the first drummer,
One of the
but
best.
he became the drummer who was most well known.
Yeah,
And partly because he could read.
yeah,
Yeah, he's told me that. They had other drummers, but they couldn't, that's, like I said, that's so important to them
yeah.
that the musician be able to cut the part. So Thurman had Sam and I as guest artists
Oh wow.
with a quintet at Bard College, which is one of the finest
Yeah.
private colleges in America. He's been the head of the jazz department there for at least 20 years.
Oh, okay.
So I was so psyched. And I had liked Sam so much that I studied his music some. I transcribed some things that he'd like to play, And so when it came time on the concert for my first solo, I played a couple of his pet licks. And I looked over and he's smiling at me. He heard them. He heard me play them. And anyway, we got along great, and we played so well together. It was fantastic.
Yeah,
Sam is one of the all-time greats in my book.
Yeah.
And I heard him at Studio Rivby with Dave and Barry Altschul so many times. I mean, I was practically camped out in there at least 100 times.
Oh man. Wow.
Yeah, Studio Rivby. That was the place in the loft movement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Sam Rivers, man.
Yeah.
That someday, when the musicologists and the theory guys get a hold of this period of time and decide to dig into it, they're gonna see. They'll be shocked when they start tearing Sam's music apart.
Yeah.
Oh, they're gonna wig out.
Yeah.
So great. And Dave, the way he played, that Paul Bley label, Improvising Artists?
Maybe I have a record or something, yeah, but...
Well, Sam and Dave, not the R&B group, but Rivers and Holland, they did 2 duo records.
Oh.
And the one where Sam plays tenor and soprano, that's on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
You gotta hear it. You gotta hear it, man. Oh, it's a thing of amazement. Total incredible music. Check it out.
I can imagine. Yeah, I will definitely.
Oh yeah, they're full strength. They were always at full strength.
Yes.
They had an unbelievably high level, and it never dipped down. It never went below the highest possible.
It's incredible.
Quality. Yeah. I mean, that's a great inspiration and an example for young musicians to say, look at what these guys are doing and the commitment they have, and their chops are the highest possible level. Just phenomenal, man. I mean, so much incredible music came out of the 60s through the end of the year, and into the aughts and the what I mean by aughts, 2001, 20.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
I think we're taking a kind of a breather now, in a sense. You think so?
Yeah, I mean, for me, yeah.
It seems like it to me.
Bizarre era, kind of. Controlled by, I don't know, media also a little bit, and by. Although on the other hand, there's so much music which is going under the radar, which I love to investigate.
Absolutely.
I love the beauty of that because, you know,
Yeah.
the media presents something to us, the jazz media. I mean, but if you just do a little bit research, there is still a lot of amazing
yeah.
things going on, you know, but
I agree.
you have to dig a little. So, but
You,
yeah,
you do have to dig. That's right.
yeah,
So the fan, you know, may not know how to dig and how to
yeah,
get to that. It's
exactly. Yeah,
like when I was like, say, I was in my teen years, teenager, and when Sound came out by Roscoe Mitchell,
yeah,
that was recorded and distributed, and it was available in Cleveland. And
yeah,
three compositions of new jazz, Braxton's, well, and
yeah.
four alto.
Yeah,
That,
it's incredible.
that
Yeah,
stuff was around. Levels and degrees of light,
yeah, wow.
Buchholz.
Yeah,
Man, when you listen to that,
that's
like
even now. Yeah,
Braxton's solo on that first tune, woo, it was phenomenal.
yeah,
And then Thurman took the next solo, and he played incredibly well, you know. But my point is that you could go to the record store and see those
yeah,
records there. You might not buy them or listen to them, but they were there if you wanted to.
yeah.
That's what we're having a harder time with
Oh, it's
now.
gone. Yeah,
It's gone. Yeah, yeah.
that era.
I guess you have to know where to look and be willing to explore.
Yeah, you have to really love the music to do that. Actually, you
That's
know.
right. That's
Yeah,
right. Which
yeah,
is certainly the case if you're going to be a player
yeah,
too. You have to
absolutely.
have like you know, undivided love,
Yeah, to
just
do that.
total. Otherwise, you'll never make it. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
you'll grow disenchanted or tired of it, or it won't sustain you,
yeah.
you know, enough to keep you involved and keep you active.